So I got a question. Where is the best place to learn Golang? I've answered this question many times, but this is a fresh video with the new information that I have as of, 2024, or whenever the date is on this video. The answer is pretty typical. Go to the source. Read the source, Luke. Go to the major sources for that. And I have put all of those together, and I've been maintaining them in my own list, which is a little bit out of date. I should probably go to it. But let's go have a look at my list of Go resources. Again, it's just one list out there. There are lots of lists out there. Please make sure you evaluate them for yourself. But let's take a moment to go look at where we can find this. All right, so I just got that for the image. But if you go to github.com/rtbxrob /awesome-go, and this, the creation of an awesome Go list is a pretty typical thing. It says here, my personal list of awesome Go code tools, books, learning, and resources. I'm very picky about what makes it on. Want to learn Go? Start here. There are other Go lists out there, and I made my own because some of the ones that are out there are really bad. So I'm going to talk to you first about the stuff that I suggest you use, and then I'm going to talk about the stuff that people will obviously find that and what I think about it, and you can make your own decision. Again, these are highly opinionated decisions based on my own experience, and other people, experiences may vary. So please don't take it the wrong way. And my approach is not going to be the same that a lot of people might want. They might want to do it in a more radical way. So the first thing is Tour of Go. So there's a couple of things to know about Tour of Go. Let's actually go there now. Get it? There's going to be so many of those. You just can't avoid it. Open link, a new tab. So here we have Tour of Go. The biggest problem with Tour of Go that you will find if you go to the source code for Tour of Go is that it hasn't been maintained, nor is it finished. And so you kind of get dropped off. It's a little bit comical to read about the issues list on Tour of Go on GitHub and all of the many, many things that they planned to do and didn't do. Even though I still list this as the first resource, this is the first place I went to get a feel for Go, to play around with it. But the thing to know about Tour of Go is that you are going to hit blockers. That I've been dealing with people from 9 to 19, teaching them coding and older, and they tend to balk at the tutorial section where it goes into bitwise mathematics for a beginner. There's a lot of C coders out there, and people like that are going to love it. And it's really clear that the Tour of Go was created primarily for people who are already programmers. They've already programmed to something else, and so it's a good way to get a sense of it. It's still the best way to get going in it. It's also not the first resource that it's not the first way to learn how to program, right? It's the first way to learn how to learn Go after you kind of already know how to program something else. I'm just going to put a plug-in for the Beginner Boost. We haven't got the videos started yet, but when we are going to be doing the polyglot approach to programming, and we will be learning Python, Go, and Python, JavaScript, and Go at the same time. And the point of that is to see how the languages differ and what their goals are. Some people may ask, well, why those languages? Those are the biggest languages, and they have the biggest adoption, and they're sort of ubiquitous. They're all targeted at applying to lots of things. So please stay tuned for those videos. That is why I can mention the Tour of Go, because when we do the videos together, when we learn and Go together, we're not going to use Tour of Go for that. No, we're going to start much, much simpler than that with very mnemonic, easy to use projects, and that's how we're going to do it. And it will take us a little bit longer to learn all three languages, just like it would, like polyglot kids who grow up with, German and English in the household tends to, their language learning gets delayed a little bit, but then when they finally do learn those two languages, they tend to pick up other languages much faster. And that is the approach. There's no science behind that. I just believe in it deeply, that polyglot coding is the best approach to programming. So that is quite, I should make a whole video about that, but that is the reason the Tour of Go is okay as the first language listed here. Okay, so the next resource here is these, by the way, these come from the Go community itself. How to write Go code. This is an absolute mandatory thing that you must read. It talks about using GoMod Tidy. They've kept this particular document up to date. It tells you how to initialize a project. It is absolutely fantastic. Now, it does have a bunch of assumptions about knowing how to use the command line and stuff. This is why it's so important that you go through the other elements of the boost, and particularly the Linux stage and the terminal stage, so you can learn about how to use the Linux terminal or a Unix terminal of some kind, so that you can do these things. Because the Go community, particularly in the documentation, assumes that you're already pretty good on the command line. All right, so the effective Go is very important to understand why things are the way they are. When to use what kind of thing. The term idiom, right? So coding idioms, the common ways to write code that are generally accepted in order to represent something, when multiple ways of writing it could be, a possibility. So this is super important that you get that. So far, every one of these resources is free, by the way. Somebody some time ago recommended Go 101 to me, and I did review this. This goes into extreme detail. You can buy a copy. That's up to you. I have not looked at the source code of this particular resource in a very long time. It's been more than 5 years since I read it. I don't know if they've kept up to date with the many different things out there, including generics. But again, so this is one of the ways you can kind of dive in. I'm looking for generics specifically right now. There they are. Use and read composites. Okay, so we have generics. Type composite examples. Nice. Okay, so it looks like they've added generics. When this was first recommended to me, I was a little bit nervous about it, but it looks like it is really gotten better, and it does look like it covers pretty much everything. Why do I like it? The main reason I like it is it's very, very exhaustive, perhaps too much so for a beginner, but it also is a sort of community effort, even though they also sell it. I don't know anything about them or the authors or anything, but it does look pretty damn good. And so if you want to kind of dig down in, you can do that. Now, I do want to pause here because, the best way to learn a thing is to write something significant in the thing. Now, maybe you have sort of contrived projects when you're first starting out, but eventually you need to actually make something you want. It can be a Twitch integration or an API or a YouTube integration, or it can be, your own Zettelkasten program from the command line. It can be any number of things. But the point is that, don't spend too much time reading books. You should probably spend a minimal amount of time reading this material to get your head around it, and then you should immediately start thinking about that one project that you want to make, because that is going to inspire you to keep going. It's going to help you do the research to go look up what it was. Believe it, whether you like Mark Zuckerberg or not, he's quoted in the Code.org video as saying how he learned to code. He said, it started out making something fun for my sisters and me. This is his quote from Mark Zuckerberg. And then I just kept adding things to it, made it a little bit more, tweaked it a little bit more, kept learning a little bit more. That is the technique. TJ Holowaychuk says, if you want to learn something, find an existing thing that you like and rewrite it and see if you might even be able to do it better. You're going to learn you have the answer at the back of the book because it's already been done. So those are methods that you should probably start to use right away. I've talked about it in a different video, but I want to really point that out here, because if you spend too much time reading every single thing in the Go 101 book, not only will you get tired of it, you might miss the opportunity to have it really stick by actually putting into practice. And I can't speak to how many of these explanations actually come with functional projects for you to do. Definitely don't just type what's in the book into a thing. You can do that kind of with Tour of Go for a while, but as soon as possible, get rid of that. That's really important. If you don't do that, you're going to be sort of mired in the the book learning place. So people similarly get mired in YouTube land. They're just watching YouTube tutorials and they're going through the tutorial but they don't learn anything. So just be aware of that and make sure you're producing something valuable for yourself and for others. What is this? Using Go modules. Okay, so this is another. This is super interesting. So Go modules are arguably one of the most confusing parts of Go. They have one of the most radically strange histories, and I'm actually fighting with them now because the new inner source movement makes everything in Go private, which makes it ridiculously difficult to do something as simple as importing a package. Because now, during CI/CD with a GitHub action, I've done other videos, considerable videos on this. Ultimately, I've decided to use Go vendoring, which is a separate topic. But if you don't understand modules, you won't be able to do write modular software. So definitely include that in your learning. The Go code review comments. These are from the Go project itself, and it looks like it's moved. But the point of this is that the Go Wiki GitHub has moved to go.dev. Okay, these are very opinionated, specific things that would keep your code commits from being accepted into the Go project itself. And while they're not strictly mandated for anybody to use, getting good with what they are and understanding them is worth getting into. This is the only place that this is documented. So that is not in a book anywhere. This is the place to go. It's also free. So make sure you go through that. Let's see, what else we got? Code something with concurrency. I've already told you about the projects. That's super important that you understand context and concurrency. Read Go code review comments for style guide. Oh, I think I already clicked on that just now. The Go programming language specification. Okay, so when you talk about read the manual, this is literally the manual, and we're going to talk about this when we get into to the language things, when we talk about the different languages. And this is also the reason that I think, even though I don't think it's a part of the beginner boost, I believe everybody should learn to read eBNF, ABNF, which is all the RFCs in the world are written in them. I'll do a separate video on reading specifications, but not being able to read a specification is a serious handicap in the technology world. And the ability to read eBNF in this particular case gives you a lot of superpower when it comes to understanding the language. A fun side note, fun fact, I actually created Pegin because I am into this kind of thing so much. So this is pegin.dev. And this is my own language that's been kind of extended from Peg, which I use for different things. And I'll talk about that another day. But that's because eBNF is inadequate for representing certain things, but it's become the standard for documenting how a language is actually implemented. If you do not follow the eBNF specification, you are not implementing the language properly. So that's if you really want to go. There's no YouTube video that's going to go tell you to read the eBNF on YouTube. I promise you that. If you find anybody on the internet telling you to go read the specification for Go in order to learn Go, please let me know, because I want to find that person and give them a kiss on the mouth, because I don't know, I find it annoying, a little bit of a rant here. I find it annoying that people are not recommended to go to the standard specifications more frequently. They're shown some dummy's book or somebody's YouTube video or something. They're always given they're given the easy stuff that ends up being wrong most of the time, and at worst, at worst being ultimately wrong, and at best being overly watered down and diluted, and not significant enough even for you to become a serious software developer. You need to go to the specifications. You need to read them. You need to get used to reading them, so that when you need to go look something up, you don't have to go ask somebody about it. You can literally go to the manual, and so learning Go is the next one. Okay. So learning Go, when I mentioned books, I kind of jumped ahead on the book there. The Go standard library. So this actually is a great way to see good Go code. One of the best ways to learn Go is to read good Go code And there is a lot of great Go code inside of the standard libraries, and including how to write a parser, all kinds of stuff. There are a number of individual projects that I probably should update this, actually. There are a number of individual projects which I will commit to you right now that I will add these projects to here so that you can study a project that has really used Go effectively. And that I'm just going to name them really quickly before I add them here. So, because, in addition to the Go standard library, if you want to see somebody who's actually implemented something well, and I mean well, you want to go, like, something comes to mind is Argo CD comes to mind. That's actually been run really well. The Kind project, KIND, has been done really well. And there was another one recently that I was looking at, and I can't remember it at this moment. Oh, sorry for the distortion, a little bit of distortion there. So let me tell you some projects to stay away from. The Kubernetes code base is a disaster. Hugo, Go Hugo, absolute disaster. One of the worst code bases I've ever read. The kubectl program that everybody has to use, also total disaster. Cobra, the thing that everybody uses to do their command line parsing, the actual source code for Cobra is ridiculously bad. It was done really quickly, kind of like Minecraft, and it still remains popular. These projects that you might think, oh, I'm sure these are going to be the standards, they're absolutely horrible. So, stick with those other ones. If you have a question about a project and you want me to evaluate a project, please come join me for Coffee Boost in the morning. Ask me, what do you think of this project? And I'll try to do a quick little vetting of the project to see. There's some pretty big glaring signs when a project is bad. Helm, oh my God, it's just so bad. It doesn't matter how popular it is and how many people use it. This code base is horrible. So anyway, stick with the Go standard library because it's had to be approved by the Go team themselves, who were very, very, pedantic about everything. There are, exceptions to that statement, but that's mostly true. And then, as I said, Kind and Argo CD. Argo CD is done really well too. So, I mean, there are probably some other ones I just can't remember right now. Watch the awesome page and I'll add those back. At that point, it's probably time for you to dive into learning Go. And John has a tremendous writing style. He's got a really great writing style. Learning Go is supposed to be for a beginner thing for learning Go, but he says really quickly in there that it's actually not. The best thing about learning Go is it answers a bunch of the questions about the idioms that are not talked about. It's like, when should you use an interface versus when should you return it? I mean, when should you use an interface, when should you use a structure, right? So this is a justification of some of the most common idioms that are out there. And it's more about the craft of writing Go, even though it says learning Go, which if you know O'Reilly, when somebody says learning Go, that's the book that's supposed to take you from zero to hero, right? It doesn't. Learning Go assumes you know a certain amount of Go already, and he says so in the beginning of the book, which I think is somewhat unfortunate, because it is a great resource. Other than that, and it's one of the ones you'd have to pay for. There's a listing for Bonsai here, which is old. Please disregard that for now. I'll be immediately removing that. Bonsai Command Tree Bonsai is a program that I wrote to replace Cobra. I do think that everybody should learn how to write a Cobra project, even though I despise the Cobra project. It has grown a lot. I want to say that some of the stuff I did with Bonsai has maybe helped the project move in the right direction. And I'll make a separate video about that. But just when we do Go for enterprise development, which we are going to do in SkillStack. So let me just pull this up for now. So we will be learning, even though we're going to be learning right here when it says, where is it? Getting Linux machine. There it is. Learn to code. So learn to code is JavaScript. We're going to learn to code in JavaScript, Go, and Python. But then another part of the boost, we're going to actually develop enterprise software on Go. And for this particular part right here, we're going to be doing, we're going to write an API, and we're going to write a client, an API client, probably the Twitch, some sort of Twitch integration or something. And then we're also going to, look at that. We got the bubbles because I did the peace sign. And I mean the balloons. And then we're going to do we're gonna do at least one command from the command line using Cobra, and we will talk about Cobra versus Fab CLI or mine or my Bonsai thing. It is essential that you learn how to use Cobra to make a command line tool utility in 2024. Whether or not I like it doesn't matter. That is by far the industry standard for that kind of thing. So knowing how to do that, knowing how to make an enterprise API, how to deliver an enterprise API in Go, a REST API using the tools that are out there, and I don't want to start listing them here because using OpenAPI and all of the things, using the NetHTTP library for doing it, as well as why you might want to reach for a framework like Gin, which is unsexy but still by far the leader out there in deployment land. Sometimes the most effective framework or library is not necessarily the newest one. In fact, very frequently that's true. You want maturity in the enterprise more than you want cutting edge. There was famously a guy shared an unpopular opinion on the Go Time podcast, and he said his unpopular opinion is he will not allow any technology in his architected environment that's less than 7 years old. And I think that's pretty extreme. I mean, there are so many things you would not be able to adopt in that case. But the point is a lot of times you want stuff that's old. So as you're going through and you're doing the education in Go, make sure you consider those resources. I'll be keeping my Awesome Go thing here updated. I did put a bunch of my own stuff here that's mostly experimental, my Bonsai stuff. This stuff is fun, but VARs, my own use of generics, my own configuration manager for that, with some web request stuff. I've linked to most of my stuff here, but I haven't been maintaining this completely all the time. But if you want to see some of the examples that I've tried to make to do different things, this is where I kind of maintain the list of them. Many of them have been superseded by new changes to the language. Most specifically, the use of the generics library has superseded some of the stuff that I used to do with slices. But if you want to see how to implement some of the data structures and algorithms that are out there already, and you want to just get a sense of how I've done them, you can go look at where is it? VARs and no, not VARs. Where is it? I think it's types. I'm trying to find it here. But this is just my experimentation. There's other people that have other code you can find. Structs. Is it Structs? Yeah. This is my data structures algorithm. And I do have a scanner. I wrote, I wrote a scanner to go through and parse content. If you want to see that, I wrote my own YQ utility using the stuff I learned from Kind. So that's some of the stuff that you can go to for me. These are some really awesome libraries in here I would not have listed otherwise. Lodash is completely irrelevant now with generics, so that needs to be removed. Let's see. Only true safe to write a Google file, to write to a file. This is super important that you read this. This is because this is atomic file writes with locked file. Protobuf stuff. So it does look like I need to go clean this up. The question was asked today, so I'm going ahead and I'm answering it today, but I'm probably not going to clean this particular page up until we're getting ready to start doing our coding in Go. And we're probably several months away from that. So if you want to follow the Awesome Go list and for those changes, there you go. Okay, that's my last pun for the day. And that's the end of this video because, the rest of it you can figure out on your own. This is RWX Rob coming to you from the Subaru. Thank you for checking it out. We'll see you in Morning Boost. Come on and say hi. Thanks.